It's 7 o'clock. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to ANC3F's November meeting. It's November 28, 2023. This is our last meeting for the year. Woohoo, we've made it. It's been a fascinating year. It's been a long year. We've gotten through. I want to thank the commissioners for all that you've done this year, including former Commissioner Ryan, who had done a lot for us as the former secretary for ANC3F. I will call this meeting to order, starting with the roll call, and I will not go in order. I'm just going to go what I see on the screen, and I'll start with Commissioner Courtney Carson.
Here.
Commissioner Marilyn Slotnick.
Here.
Commissioner Mitch Bayer.
Here.
Commissioner James Tenderick.
Here.
And Commissioner Terry Hewitt.
Here.
The next item on the agenda is the adoption of tonight's agenda. I would like to make a motion to include, which is not on the agenda right now, but I would like to include Washington Gas on the agenda. We had, if you remember, we had an advocacy group speak last month about Washington Gas's, there's a pipeline project. And so we didn't want to take any action on that until we actually heard from Washington Gas. And so so we made sure that we heard from them as well. So I want to add, I wanted to make sure I had them on the agenda. Is there any other additions or adjustments to the agenda, tonight's agenda?
Madam Chair, the only other adjustment would be the presence of OTA. Thank you.
Okay, so we will just make sure to add OTA, and they will be added to the segment about the recent lawsuit against property managers.
Correct.
So it says Office of the Attorney General update, but it'll actually be OTA.
Correct, and only OTA.
Giving that update. Okay. And then Washington Gas will be after our special exception conversation. Any other adjustments to the agenda? Seeing none, sorry, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? Did Courtney leave? Any abstained?
Sorry, my internet keeps going out of my office. I'm just trying to move to another room. So I went off video so I could hear because it kept freezing. Sorry, everybody. Sorry.
Okay. Sorry, and the motion passes. The next item on the agenda is approval of ANC3F meeting minutes for October 17th. Any adjustments to the meeting minutes for October 17th? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstained? And the motion passes. The next item on the agenda is approval of the ANC3F 2024 budget. And that was sent to you via email and text. And the only thing I wanted to add to that is an additional $18,000, which is $1,500 a month for a comms person. So we had to approve that person in the middle of the year this year, but we never, everything else started to happen. So we never brought someone on, but we definitely need a comms person. So I just wanted to add that to our 2024 budget. Anything else?
Chair David, so with the money that was spent this year, will that money get rolled over for next year, or will it just be sort of recycled again?
It gets rolled over to next year.
Okay.
All in favor of the budget for the ANC3F 2024 budget? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any?
Also me, Courtney, sorry, me too. Trying to get back on video.
Okay, no worries. Any opposed? Any abstain? And the motion passes. The next item on the agenda is commissioner updates and announcements. I will start with what I see, and I will start with Commissioner Marilyn Slatnick.
I just wanted to say I attended on November 9th, the Washington Gas Pipes listening session at UDC. That was very helpful. And on November 12th, I was with the rest of you all, attended the reception for the new UDC president, Eddington, at Matt Fruman's home.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Mitch Bayer.
I have no updates at this point.
Commissioner Terry Hewitt.
Madam Chair, the only update that I have in reference to the Housing Committee is the presence of OAG. They will not be attending tonight because the case against the property owners is an active litigation and they do not want to compromise the case, but they welcome questions from the public. You can either send them to me and I will send them to OAG, or you can send them to OAG and they will receive the questions. They very likely will not respond to the questions if they are related to the case, but once they can, they will respond in detail. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Commissioner Hewitt. Commissioner James Tenderick.
The only update that I have is that starting on December 18th to 30th, there's going to be some station, the red line will be shut down mainly between DuPont Circle and Gallery Place. So just be aware of that, and just be aware of that because it's going to affect all of us for the holiday season. So just keep an eye out for that. Stations between DuPont Circle and Gallery Place will be shut down between December 18th and the 30th. That's it for me.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Courtney Carlson.
I actually don't have any updates. Thank you.
Thank you. And the only one I have is we do have scheduled for our January meeting 2024. It's going to be January 16th, 2024, and we do have scheduled council member Robert White, who will help us continue that conversation on housing in DC. So just keep that in mind. Thank you. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is our committee reports, and I will start with streets and sidewalks.
Good evening, Chair David. Hi, everyone. Paul Harrison, Chair of the Streets and Sidewalks Committee. We did meet on November 15th this month for a good on the streets conversation about safety, pedestrian safety around our schools, particularly starting with Merch, which, as we know, our schools has the largest population and a lot of issues around pickup and drop off, and being next to Reno Road, commuter route as well. Streets and sidewalks will be focused on three things. We continue to follow a couple sort of hyper-local issues. The question of 35th and Alton, which is cut through traffic, where a request is into DDOT to consider some non-expensive alternatives to calm the traffic there. Some repairs that are needed at Van Ness and VZ. We are also continuing to follow the Connecticut Avenue study. Looking forward to a conversation about that, I believe, later on today on the agenda. going back to the schools question, our next step is to reach out to both the principals and to the heads of the parent associations to start a process to talk about additional work on safe routes to school around these schools. So folks have an idea. We're very excited to learn that DDOT is significantly increasing its budget for bridging sidewalk gaps in the city. The good news is they'll be spending, I think, about $5 million next year and doing 6 miles. The bad news is there's over 260 miles of gap, and most of the gaps in our neighborhood don't fit high on the prioritization system, which not surprisingly focuses on heavily trafficked, dangerous streets in areas with socioeconomic disparities. And particularly streets that don't have a sidewalk on either side in those cases. So they are in the next year going to be doing 25 schools around the city or focus on doing traffic calming around the schools. So we'd like to get our particular elementary schools, Murch, Burke, and Sheridan into that process. And that really is kind of a core walkability between those 3 schools for our neighborhood. So as always, I encourage everybody to reach out to me if you're interested in participating in Streets and Sidewalks. I will drop my email in the chat. And as Chair David always reminds me, I will try to get notices of the meetings up on the ANC website. Thanks.
Thank you. Any additions to or any questions for Paul? Seeing none, thank you so much, Paul, for that update. The next committee is Parks and Watersheds.
I'll make that report. We've received a great deal of data from DC Water with regard to the Soapstone Valley project, and we're currently reviewing it. It is voluminous to say the least, and so it'll take us a while to review it. But we intend to have questions for DC Water once we review that data.
Thank you. Schools and universities.
We had our meeting last month. We gave updates regarding the UDC task force. So several other commissioners, including members of our committee, went to the task force meeting a few weeks ago with Juanita leading it. We also give updates on reps from Howard Law. So we actually have a guest from Howard Law is going to introduce himself to everyone in the public. But those are some of the main updates. It's sort of UDC and Howard Law currently in the moment, as well as conversations about the Intelsat building and what can be some things that we can do to make sure that our voice is being heard in the process with Commissioner or with Councilmember Furman.
Thank you, Commissioner. And then housing and neighborhoods.
Thank you, Chair David. With housing and neighborhoods, the next meeting will occur in January. It will occur that second Wednesday of January. I'll need to get my calendar out for the date. I apologize for that, but it's the second Wednesday in January. We didn't have a meeting this month because of the litigation, and normally that caused a bit of an issue with participants.
Okay, interesting. This is going to be an interesting topic. Okay, thank you. And how can anyone reach you?
Chair David, that question is directed to me.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So through 3F02 at anc.dc.gov. I can put that in the chat.
All right. Thank you so much. Then the next item on the agenda is community forum. Anyone can give an update, but what I've done is we have our regulars. So I'll start with our regulars and then open it to anyone else who just has some updates. We will start with UDC.
Thank you, Chair David. Good evening, everyone. Just a couple of things. As was noted by Commissioner Tanderick, we held the Community Campus Task Force meeting 2 weeks ago. The meeting went well. We have chosen 8 people to sit on a task force. That information will go out to everyone who attended the meeting and to all the commissioners as well. Of course, it'll also be listed on the External Relations webpage with the minutes sometime before the end of next week. We would like to ask, and I'll work with Commissioner Tanderick on this, but we would like to get President Eddington on your either January or February schedule, just to talk to the community. He's met with a lot of people already. We've had several receptions. Councilmember Fruman was very gracious in hosting. Marlene Berlin from Van Ness Main Street was from Forest Hill Connection and Van Ness Main Street was very kind in hosting a reception for him as well. So he has met a great deal of people, but we want him to, of course, get out and meet more people. We also will be hosting in February a community, just a community opening session, or I guess a community town hall. And that will be in person on the Van Ness campus. So I will get that information out as soon as it's scheduled. Other than that, the university is winding down for the semester. Finals are coming up. So if you see our students looking a little stressed out, give them a little courtesy and grace because they're a little stressed out. But that is about it, unless we have any questions.
Yep. Any questions for commissioners? Commissioner Tanderick.
Hey, Juanita, when you say that community town hall was February, how would that be different from the community task force that's happening in February?
So those are 2 different things. The task force is our meeting. The town hall will be, and it may not actually be a town hall. It may just be I'm still planning out how he wants it to go, but it's 2 separate things. We have had, well, I have gotten requests to have someone from DGS be present at the February 1st task force meeting. And then we'll also have Javier Dusan, who is our Vice President of Facilities and Real Estate. He will also be at the meeting to take questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Nope. Any other questions? Thank you, Chair David.
Yep, sorry, no problem. Any Cash has a question, and then Amy. Cash, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Thanks. Well, thank you, Juanita. And I was definitely hopeful after the task force meeting. I know there were lots of process questions about how the task force would operate, and there were some glitches, like many pre-submitted questions not making the agenda. But if those issues are worked out satisfactorily, I'm hopeful that the task force will be valuable. I do have one major concern. The task force can only serve its intended purpose if UDC is transparent about its plans. Now, the task force met on November 16th. On November 7th, I understand that the Board of Trustees approved a capital budget that calls for the demolition of 2 additional buildings on the campus, one of which is Building 44, which contains the green roof and the greenhouse that is a major part of the Van Ness food hub, and which the campus plan intended to use for student housing. Now, this is a major project, and I would have expected it to be brought up at the task force meeting. Why wasn't it? And can you tell us more about that now?
Sure. Well, I did not attend the last meeting. I was out sick, or the last board meeting, so I did not have that information. But if you would like to submit questions via email, I can get those to the appropriate people and get back to you.
Are you saying you can't tell us anything more about it now?
I don't have any information to give you. I don't have the information, but I'm happy to get information for you, but I just don't have it right now.
I see. Okay, I think this would be a very important item to bring up at the next ANC meeting. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. The next question is Amy.
Hi, Ms. Gray. Thank you for being here tonight. Those of us who weren't at the task force meeting, can you tell us how we can find out the place and time? Can you put it in the chat for the town hall for UDC? I assume the community is welcome.
Absolutely. So the way that I have not scheduled them in WebEx just yet. So once I've actually scheduled the WebEx meeting, I will give that to the ANC commissioners. It'll also be on the university website. If you want to put your email address in the chat, I can add you to the list of people that I send information to. And also, I'm putting in a chat right now. This is something separate, but if anyone would like updated information on what's happening at the university, we have our UDC Forward online newsletter, and it's updated pretty often. You can subscribe to that, and you will receive the UDC Forward every time it goes out.
My other question, Ms. Gray, is there are a lot of children in the apartment buildings who don't know about the playground on the UDC campus. They don't know things that are going on for families. Is there a way you could get out to these young families in the apartment buildings information about how families can get involved with things happening at UDC and use the playground and the that's by the new soccer field that's being redone? It would be nice if the families could be informed. If you got that information to somebody like me who's at the Connecticut House, I could post it on our community bulletin board in our laundry room, but there are a lot of young children in these apartment buildings who would benefit from knowing about things for young families here at UDC. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let me check on, because we used to have Communikids and they were using that playground, but they've since moved locations. So let me make sure that those are actually available to community members. And once I find out that information, again, I can email it to you. I do have to say about the apartments, I've tried before to put up information in apartments, and just like your building, we can only put things in laundry rooms. And a lot of times that stuff gets taken down. But if you have any other suggestions on how I can get, because the apartments are very specific on how you can advertise and what you can. I know mine is at 3003. So.
Okay, well, I know here at Connecticut House, if you get it to me and I see Mr. Fikes is on the call, I make sure that I repost the food pantry hours, because there are a lot of families in need here for that. And so if you want to earmark it to me, and I will put my email, or I see Mr. Fikes is on the phone too from the Connecticut House. He's our president. We can get this information to the families, and I will make copies of it. So when I see it's been taken down, I will put it back out, because that's what I do with the food pantry. And that's what I do with the rights of tenants in these buildings, because there are a lot of people who just are not aware. So we would like the families here to be aware of what kind of amenities there are in the neighborhood for them. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Juanita.
Thank you,
David. I will move on now to Van Ness Main Street.
Good evening, everyone. This is Gloria Garcia, ED for Van Ness Main Street. I only have two things to report. One is that we hope that we'll see you out on the street in front of the UDC Law School and Gold's Gym this Saturday from 11 to 4. Fingers crossed on the weather. If not, it's rain date on Sunday, but we have more than 30 vendors. And I again want to thank UDC for, as always, for the use of the space and for helping me get it ready, and for the UDC police helping us on that day. The other thing I would like to report is that many of you have seen on the street, but Treasurer Bear, Commissioner Bear wanted me to touch base and give you guys a overview of our really transformative grant that the ANC provided to Van Ness Main Street during the pandemic. It really has transformed the corridor with its 3 phases. And I do have a little bit of a PowerPoint presentation, so if I can share my screen, if I'm allowed.
Yep, just go ahead and try to.
Yeah, I'm doing, yeah, just want to get it to slideshow. Okay. Sorry, now it's not going into slideshow. It's always something, isn't it? There you go. This was hiding it. All right, it's not allowing it in this mode, but I want to show you. So we received an ANC grant in 2021, and the ANC approved 3 of the 4 phases that we asked for, and it included beautification and plantings, which Kathy Sykes has been continuing to lead, but it kind of got us going and rolling during the pandemic. And you can see some of the images here throughout the years of the beautiful plantings. And we really couldn't have jump-started this and our fundraising. It really gave us the impetus. And, you know, we're going to continue it. And as Kathy always says, it's not only good for the environment, it's good for people, because it brings people together. And we have people who are new to the neighborhood and they just volunteer so they can meet new people. And also we have people that come from Arlington, Bethesda, Silver Spring, because they love to plant. They love planting. And, you know, they get to see what's on our corridors. So it's kind of a destination project for us. It really raises the awareness of Van Ness. And now all of the corridors really are after Kathy to help them transform their corridors. So we really did start something amazing with the ANC's funding. And then the second and third part that you've probably seen also is our beautiful banners that hang on the streetlights along the corridor, the commercial corridors from Van Ness to Albemarle, and then from Fessenden to Nebraska. And then these were designed by one of our residents, Wendy Bogart, who lives right on Connecticut Avenue. She's the chair of my design committee. But you can see that they sit on top of the on the street lights. And then the other thing that we have just finished, because this grant finished in September 30th, is we are running a ad in the Metro at Van Ness Metro as you come up off the escalator. And that has a QR code that is also then matched by these decals that are on all the businesses. Everywhere we can put these decals, they're there. We also hope to put them in residential buildings. So would love to talk to the tenant associations on how we could get these decals, you know, in the laundry rooms. But this wayfinding part of it is backed up by a directory that is updated in real time. So if a business opens, I can add it on immediately. If a business closes, I can take it off. But I would, you know, invite you all to, you know, try the QR code, get to the directory. You can also get to it from our website with the tab on the homepage that says Explore Van Ness. So that is it. But it has been transformational for the corridor, and we really appreciate the ANC. I think Claudia, Chair David, you were the only one that was on that at that point, and maybe James too, that approved this grant. But it really has been transformational, and I'm proud to say that it's now become a best practice among some of the other main streets.
Okay.
So thank you, everyone. And I'll take any questions if people have questions, but we hope to see you on Saturday.
That is wonderful. Awesome.
The banners are so great. Great job, Gloria. And Kathy too. Thank you so much, Kathy.
Any comments, questions from commissioners? Anything from the community? Thank you.
Yes, yes. Can I ask a question?
Yes, yes.
I'm hiding. Thank you. This is just fascinating. I noticed there was a discussion on street lighting, which I've missed, and the lighting really is pretty poor. Can someone give a 2-minute discussion on what's going on with that?
Terry, Commissioner Hewitt?
Not me, sorry.
Oh, not in response to this comment. I'm so sorry. Actually in response to Gloria's comment, and if I may.
Mindy,
I can-
well, your question, we'll propose that to DDOT.
Are
Actually,
you asking about the LED, Mindy?
we'll follow up with him on that question. And that's gonna be in a few minutes. Commissioner Hewitt?
Thank you, Chairman David, Chairperson David. Gloria, if you would, I can reach out to you or you can reach out to me, and I'm happy to send the message to the various property managers that I work with in the housing committee. I know several will actually send it out to the residents, and I'm actively working on an apartment building list of residents.
Okay. Yeah, I would love to get some of these decals out there.
I'm happy to get that out to them.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
I see a question from Amy.
I just want to give a shout out to Kathy Sykes, because walking down Connecticut Avenue or up makes my day, seeing all your beautiful flowers. You do it rain or shine, and you're always out there talking to us, and you are part of what makes this community a community. And I am sorry that you've been told to take the flowers out between Connecticut House and your apartment building, because I love those flowers, but I just can't thank you enough for really giving us an ambiance of community here. So thank you, Kathy.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Gloria, for all you do.
Thank all of you.
The next update is from Council Member Matt Fruman's office. Who one's here actually? Seeing no one. Howard University has a new community relations person, William Jolly, who's here. Hey, William, welcome.
You know, getting off mute can be a thing. But hey, everyone, nice to meet you. I'm a DC resident. I'm from Ward 4, and I had the pleasure of going to Howard for law school, and now I have the pleasure of working for Howard University. So, pleasure to be with you all, and looking forward to working with you in the months and years to come.
Have you got any updates?
No updates. I'm brand new. I'm like at week 6, so I'm just here to say hello and introduce myself, and looking forward to being a good source of information as we move forward.
What is your contact for anyone who wants to reach out to you?
Sure. My email is william.jolley@howard.edu.
All right. Have I got any questions? I see David has his hand up. David.
Yes, hi, good evening, everyone. William, welcome to your new role at Howard. We have great hopes for the work you, Tim, will be doing, supporting not only the Howard main campus, but also the West Campus here in the community. I was wondering, though, if you could have any comments about the physical plant on the campus specifically, and I've sort of poked around a little bit, just trying to understand what is the plan for the reuse, the demolition of the old law school library. It appears to be abandoned in place. And while I've only been in the community for 1.5 years now, it looks like it's been abandoned in place for a dozen or more years. And it really is an eyesore to what is otherwise a very attractive campus. And I wonder if you have any comments about that.
I would say my best option is to say I'm still learning more about it, and I know that it's in the plans of development because I'm coming from the real estate development department for Howard, but there's no set plans just yet. But when I know, my aim is to be able to when I know and it's able to be publicized, my aim is to definitely update you all.
Okay, and one other question sort of related to that, but broader. So I understand, and I could be off on some of this, that all the universities in the district must submit a campus master plan every 10 years. And I was working with James over about a year or so ago. And what he was able to get from Howard was the campus plan from the 1990s. And that's the last plan that is available. So I'd also be curious, besides the law school library, the old library building, to understand what is the campus master plan for the Howard West Campus. Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, David, and I hope you two exchange contacts, so you can get that information, David, as soon as possible.
Sure. So I'll put my contacts in the chat there. Okay. Thank you very much, William.
Awesome. So William, welcome to the community, and you see that our community members are very engaged, and we're happy to have you because we're really excited about what is to come for Howard Law.
Awesome. Love to see it and glad to be engaged with you all.
Thank you. And our next update is from Mom's Organic.
Claudette.
Yes.
I talked to Brandon Shepherdson there, the contact at Moms, and they got mired down in their branding team. They have a new head of construction starting next month, and the branding and new head of construction will pledge to speak to us at our next meeting.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, but all reports are for a spring opening.
Spring opening. Okay. 2024. All right. Any other updates? Any other community updates? Now is the time if you got any community updates. Seeing none, I will move on to the next item on the agenda. I do not see Lieutenant Burdett right now. So what I will do is move on to until we see her. I'll move to the DC water update.
Thanks, Chair David. Jarrell's going to pull up the slides and jump right in.
All right, thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'll get right to kind of the main update. I think we're all familiar with the background and benefits of the project. So here's our current status update. As you know, construction hours remain 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. And currently, we're facing some issues in the field, dealing with various locations where work is remaining. So we are working with a contractor to come up with a work plan. And until we have that work plan, we won't be able to develop a schedule at this time for some of the upcoming work. But as we've been doing, we'll provide updates to the community through emails and also reaching out to the impacted stakeholders to keep them abreast to the work. So like I said, as our team develops a schedule, we'll be sharing that with the ANC. That's kind of where we are right now. the air quality data, that information has been posted on the website. There's a link in the presentation as well, and then a QR code. If you scan that, that'll take you directly to the results. And with that being said, we'll open it up for questions. Oh, sorry, and just a reminder, to stay updated and in the loop on the project, please email me to soapstone.info@dcwater.com. And with that, we'll open up for questions.
Thank you for that. Any Commissioner Bayer?
Jarrell or Emmanuel, can you please tell us what specifically are those issues that are causing a delay in the project, please?
Commissioner Bayer, this is Peter. There are 3 locations. Short number 10. We MPS haven't signed off on us how we're going to cross that stream behind the Park Connecticut. The contractor is revising their plan, how to cross it. Until we get their plan, we can short 10 is on hold because we need the MPS approval. Then on the Audubon Terrace, as you know, as part of the approved DOEE, we are supposed to install a PID so that we can monitor air quality on those 11 houses. So we've done our preliminary studies. And on Audubon Terrace, we have 2 issues. There's only 2 cleanups on the entire street. So DC water, we have to install about 10 or 11 cleanups. And then we find the condition of the laterals, they're in bad shape. So before we can install those cleanups, we're gonna need to clean it. So we are coordinating with our operation folks. Before we can move forward on Audubon, we need to clean those laterals and we need to install those cleanups, the 10 cleanup. So that's why we put a pause. Then on the Lenore Lane, the pipes, they are in bad shape. So we did engage our structural group, our designer, and IPR. Last week, I think we've reached a solution how to proceed with Lenore Lane, but we just need to finalize it. Then Park, the last one would be Park Connecticut. That one too, we've resolved the issue. So we just need to finalize the plan. Those are the 3 main issues that we have. We hopefully maybe by the end of this week or early next week, we will get everything resolved. Then the contractor will give us a schedule how to proceed.
Peter, you mentioned something at Park Connecticut. Are you referring to the lateral? Well, you call it something different than that.
It's a side shot. It's a segment that is inside the park that we need to. Half of it is already lined before, so the contractor sent the video in, and we can see that it's already lined before. But we have the last segment is the one that we have an issue with, that we're not so sure, but we hopefully will be able to resolve that this week.
Okay. If Emmanuel can put into his update as he comes out with once a week or once every couple of weeks, these particular areas where you're watching and working and waiting to complete a proposal or your plan for it, that would be helpful to inform the community a little bit more fully as to where the issues are and not just a general comment about the issues that you have issues. So if you could please be a little bit more specific during those updates, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I see Paul has his hand raised.
Thanks, Chair David. Real quick, just wanted to check in on the status of the stream restoration work at the northern end, whether that's mostly done and whether there's any potential for reopening the unpaved portion of Audubon Terrace that is a city street and is a pedestrian path. Recognize you guys need that when you're doing the work up there, but seems like that work is largely done. And also, if I've seen utility markings at the intersection of 32nd and Albemarle, understand that there's going to be some catch basin expansion work done there. Can you tell us whether those utility markings are for that and whether you guys have that work on the catch basins actually scheduled at this point?
Yeah, the utility locator is for the triple catch basin. The contractor is trying to ascertain the location of the electrical lines. So they're going to do a test pit to just see where the location of all those utilities. They will demolish the existing catch basin.
She put up a bunch of pictures.
So they try to, they try to make sure where the utilities are, so there'll be no conflict. In reference to the other side that you're talking about, we haven't actually completed everything. There is some grading to be done on that piece that you're talking about. So we will update you in the next progress meeting. There's some work there that we need to do.
Okay, thank you for that. Are there any other questions, comments for DC Water? Paul, did that work for you?
Yeah, that's helpful.
Okay. Mitch?
Yes, I have no other further questions. Thank you.
All right, seeing none, thank you. Thank you, DC Water, for your update. We'll now move on to the next item on the agenda, and that is with OTA to give us a perspective on the recent lawsuit against property managers. If they're on, because we're now ahead of schedule. Is OTA on?
Well, I'm on, but I was not aware that I was going to be talking about a law.
Okay.
I can make sure that I can either tell you exactly how to get that information directly from our policy or legal division, because I don't actually even know. I'm not even aware of exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, let me let Commissioner Hewitt just clarify things right now.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir. Actually, the only information that OTA is expected to provide is if individuals have questions when renewing their lease, they can reach out to the general number to OTA. That's pretty much all that the discussion I had with OTA yesterday. Because of the lawsuit and because there's really not a large part that OTA is playing in this outside of tenant advocacy, that's the main. Your presentation was just a couple of minutes. If that helps, sir.
What? No, I actually, because I was told that I was kind of just updating our presentation. I provided a copy of our presentation. The main thing that education outreach that I was told was to make sure that you all knew that we were focusing on strengthening tenant associations, and we are looking to gear up more classes directly to come out to buildings in the community. And I was going to be providing the information, if you will, concerning the ERAP program.
That's wonderful, sir. That's more than I expected. Thank you, sir.
Oh, so if you want, I was going to share my screen, and I can just kind of run through it because I know I saw your agenda is kind of packed up and everything.
Thank you, sir.
Yep, you can share your screen.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure everybody can see this. So I'm pretty sure everybody knows the history of the Office of the Tenant Advocate. We're an independent agency consisting of 4 branches: legal, policy, our temporary housing program, and education and outreach. Our legal branch, that's where any of those legal issues or questions would best be handled. And we only have one line. Of course, that line is still 202-719-6560. Hopefully when we move, we're able to keep that number. Of course, our policy branch, they could also answer that question. Joe Cohen, I'm pretty sure, is involved in that, and he could also answer that question. But our policy branch deals with stakeholders, government officials, elected officials such as yourselves. Our education outreach branch, we provide education and outreach to tenants and tenant associations. We are kind of launching, the Chief Tenant Advocate is really wanting to strengthen and build more tenant associations in the community. We have a peer tenant mentoring meeting that is coming up. And if you all are interested, someone can reach out to Nicole with Education Outreach. She's the one that's going to be handling that. But like I said, when our Education Outreach, we're coming out, we're actually coming out to the community. We're looking to come out to community events as well as directly to apartment complexes to give them classes. As you see, this is just a short version of the classes that we're offering throughout the year. We are starting to fill up, and we're trying to encourage people, if they want to get in as soon as January, to get in touch with us as soon as possible. We come out and do listening sessions, and then we also escalate those cases to any other division if needed, as well as we provide resources to other sister agencies as well. The Emergency Rental Assistance Program was something that the chief wanted to make sure that everybody, all the ANCs, gets this information as soon as possible to get out to your constituents. Luckily, I'm pretty sure all of you all know that luckily the ERAP program will continue. It's not going to get shut down, but it's just going to have a little bit more caveats. As you know, or as we all know, as soon as it opened the last time, it kind of closed in one day. So now what they're going to be doing, what DHS is going to be doing, is kind of opening it up quarterly. And we're recommending that tenants do the same thing. It's going to do the same thing, but we recommend that tenants do the exact same thing. As you see, it's opening January 1st, April 1st, and July 1st. And just like when it opened October 1st, we are strongly recommend the tenants, if they at all possible, literally apply at 12:01 or 12:01 on the 30th or 31st of those months, because it fills up quick. The last time it was really open, really just for a day, and just closed the very next day. This is our information. I hope I didn't speed through it too fast, but this is our information, our website, and I'll take any questions just concerning that.
We will start with commissioners and then we'll go to the community. Commissioner Hewitt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sir, would you mind posting your your slides in the chat or emailing them to me so we can get them posted?
I did send a copy to the chair, and I thought I sent it to you as well, but it may have been a different commissioner. But I can send it again. I actually sent the slides, and I sent some resources for your constituents as you see fit.
Thank you so much, sir. I'll go back and look. Thank you.
Any questions from the community? Amy has her hand raised.
Yes, Mr. Lucas,
yes,
I live at Connecticut House, 4500 Connecticut, and I'm going to try to say this diplomatically. I have not found OTA really coming through for us, especially on security issues. We had a stabbing involving 2 tenants here last Friday night. What we are finding, especially in terms of some voucher holders who need social services, those are not happening. And what's happening really in these apartment buildings are, we are not, the lease that promises us livability is not happening, especially when the daytime staff goes home at 4 o'clock. I'm coughing as I go to sleep because there's so much marijuana smoke coming into my bedroom from my neighbor. We have security issues. We're a Darrow building now, we're Borger. We share one security guard for 4 or 5 buildings. When we have had attempted homicides here and stabbings, and it's just very disappointing that OTA doesn't get involved in lease violations of security issues and of health issues like the constant smoke. It's often hard to sleep because some people are partying all night long. And I'm wondering, are my expectations too high for OTA, or what can you do to help us when we're having trouble in these apartments with security and livability and we lease violations, and our questions to property managers go, we get platitudes instead of answers. They're more concerned with being sued than with people's individual rights, than with giving us correct information. So what is OTA's responsibility to the tenants in these buildings to help us live healthier and safer lives? Thank you.
So I came over from legal to education outreach, so I'll speak to some of this, but when it concerns legal issues, I can't really get too deep into specifics. All I would say is that for specific issues, we definitely recommend that if tenants have issues where the issue is the tenant's argument against the landlord, to contact our office. The issue that you're speaking about with the smoking issue, the reason that, and I'll be honest, I'm a Marine, so I kind of just shoot it straight. The reason that issue is so difficult to understand how to get a hold of for especially with a lot of tenants is because the landlords, in order for the landlords to act on those issues, tenants, in a sense, have to, the landlord needs a witness. So that means the tenants have to come forward against other tenants. That then puts a conflict of interest directly with our agency, because that then makes it a tenant on tenant type of situation, and that goes against our purview because it's a conflict of interest. What we recommend, like in the Southeast, well, in some of the areas that I've started doing some site visits, is we recommend that the tenant association contact us to come out for a listening session. That'll bring.
What about, I understand what you're saying. What about those security issues? Because Connecticut House has been referred more than once to OAG to be a nuisance building. And we understand that if we were designated a nuisance building, then we could get a dedicated security guard for our building. I mean, I was on holiday and getting frantic texts from people that Friday night, the Connecticut House was a crime scene. There was police tape over the entrance because there was a stabbing that occurred between two people in our entrance. What is OTA's responsibility about making these apartments safe?
So let me put it in a nutshell. The Office of the Tenant Advocate, for the most part, deals with the small part of the rental housing laws that just a small part of the rental housing laws, which really is it doesn't cover criminal criminal activity. That's why that's the only why I said that if with the listening session, if we're hearing from tenant associations or from groups of tenants, there's large numbers of complaints concerning security, then what we automatically do in our report is we try to get the attention of the Office of the Attorney General, because we don't have enforcement powers.
Well,
the Office of the Attorney General.
We had a listening session with OTA and nothing happened. So I'm just frustrated because I want to feel safe where I live, and I'm not safe. And it doesn't seem as if OTA is doing enough to help us feel safe in these apartment buildings. And it feels as if, we had a listening session with Nicole. She's a great person, but you're not doing anything to help us be safe.
And I'm not going to speak about what anybody else has done or not done. At any point, have the tenant association requested that we participate in a listening session with multi-agencies concerning these issues?
Well, I'll defer that to Harry Garrell, who's on the phone, but he can speak to that. But we have begged to have social services provided to families that are on subsidies, and it's not being done. And somebody who has a mental health or an addiction unit issue needs social services, and they're not being provided. And that's part of what's making us unsafe.
And the conflict there sometimes is because those tenants are under government programs, either federal or district funded programs, which are not under the main rental housing laws. So they're not under the jurisdiction of the Office of the Tenant Advocate.
Well, so I'll defer here to Harry.
Sorry, Amy, if I could intervene, and Mr. Lucas, if I could intervene. It sounds, can we have a meeting tomorrow? Thursday, and talk about scheduling, because it sounds as though we need to have OTA and OAG present at a listening session to listen to the tenants, and we'll talk to talk to your president of your tenant association?
I'll tell you exactly what I would recommend if you
Yes,
all
sir.
want the full attention of the Office of the Tenant Advocate. I would recommend at this point, if you're saying that you don't feel like you're getting the services that you do, I'd recommend going to our website, going to Ask the Director, and requesting not only the listening session with the Office of the Tenant Advocate, but with the Office of the Attorney General, and other agencies that would basically that would have a dog in the fight when it comes down to safety. When it comes down to safety, I mean, I would also recommend that the ANC, and if you can, a representative from your council person be invited out to that tenant association meeting as well. Like I said, because I'm not trying to, I don't want to say what we're doing in other places because I don't know what everybody's doing in our office. I know that this was asked to me. I've been off for the last 2 weeks, and I was asked to cover this literally just yesterday, and I agreed. So I thought that I didn't know anything about the first part of it, but like I said, if you don't think that you're getting the service, I'm the longest standing employee with the Office of the Tenant Advocate, and I know that I can vouch for Ms. Shreve. If you don't think that you're getting the service from our office, write an email to ask the director, which will go directly to her and to our general counsel, and you will get the meeting with everybody and any and everybody that you want to meet with, virtually or in person.
I'll take care of that tomorrow. Thank you so much.
And you'll work with
and hopefully I'm not too blunt. I'm not trying
no,
to
no, that's what we need. Harry has a question.
Yeah, I'll just say that we've been blowing the whistle on these problems for about 2 years. So when Amy talks about it, some people on this call may have heard Amy or I talk many times about this issue. I've worked with OTA on a number of issues before, including rent concessions. And this is a very burning issue for our area. There's a gross misuse of housing vouchers to flip or to convert at least 10 apartment buildings in PSA 203. And this just needs some public discussion. The incident that Amy's talking about now, we've had similar things a number of times. We're not hearing either from DHS, DHCD, from the mayor's office, frankly. We're not hearing from OTA about this, from the Department of Behavioral Health. There's sort of a shutdown of this issue. And I know it's an uncomfortable one and a difficult one, but this is a gross misuse of federal money. And I think that what Amy is asking for is OTA and other agencies to step up and to have an open discussion of these issues. It's very frustrating to be stuck in small meetings and to be trying to get people's attention. And the problem with this is that someone's going to get hurt, and it's going to be the city's responsibility. In fact, people have already been hurt, as Amy says, the stabbing the other day, the guy who was killed at the Rodman, the stabbing at the Brandywine recently, the shooting on Brandywine. These are very unusual things. Not all of them are due to the housing voucher situation, but some of them are. We've put together a list of a number of grossly inappropriate behaviors, violence, threats, etc., that are linked to these programs. And the agencies, DCHA most of all, is not stepping in to revoke a voucher for someone, regardless of how threatening the behavior is to an individual like Amy, who's been threatened repeatedly. And they should not just be pointing, to the courts or asking tenants to deal with this individually. If the city is going to be placing some people knowingly that will put their neighbors at risk, whether those people are other voucher recipients or other people, that's wrong. And the city has got to stop that. This is a lawsuit ready to happen. It's a public relations disaster ready to happen. And it's also just a human catastrophe. There are many people who need housing vouchers who can't get them because there's some other people who are misusing them and threatening their neighbors. That's wrong. This will turn public opinion against low-income housing because it's grossly mismanaged. And we just need open discussion. I think the reason why Amy is speaking to you, Mr. Lucas, from the OTA, is that as the Office of the Tenant Advocate, we would like the OTA to advocate for tenants. I mean, loudly, vocally organize meetings. It shouldn't be up to Amy to drop an email asking Johanna to hold a meeting. We need Johanna to step out and others as well to hold those meetings.
Hold on. So let me make this clear. I have every intention of making sure that Ms. Shreve knows exactly the temperature and the feeling of this meeting. But what I was trying to relay in a way is that if that's how you all feel, and you want the service, you want at least our agency to take accountability and to step up. I know that that's one way that it would happen almost overnight and immediately. Now, me relaying all of this, and I have no idea exactly how fast things will move at that pace, because I'm not going to hound the director, over and over again about an issue. Once I reported, it's reported. I mean, I understand your issues, like a lot of issues in the city, and I understand it. I'm not trying to downplay it. They're holistic issues. Right now, you're talking about issues where you've mentioned at least 4 to 5 different agencies of which we have no kind of authority over. The housing authority, everybody knows exactly. Well, a lot of people have good ideas of the dysfunction of the housing authority, but that's not even a DC government agency for real. They're actually under HUD. Now the other agencies, that's why I said Ms. Shreve can get the directors of those other agencies with whoever else needs to be, whatever other stakeholders need to be in the room, to a meeting so that they can start trying to handle these issues. But I'm pretty sure we all know that the climate in which, let's just break it down. Like I said, I'm a Marine. Crime is going up throughout the nation. This is a holistic problem. One of the approaches that we look at is at least trying to bring communities together and strengthening communities within the tenant associations. If tenant association, at least is the way I feel, if people get back to the days where they knew each other, where they knew their neighbors, and they kind of had those kinds of responsibilities, they won't do some of the things that they unfortunately feel that our society now, people feel comfortable doing whatever they want to do now. And I mean, and that's a problem that's throughout our whole country. But like I said, specifically, any building in the District of Columbia that reaches out to us, and like I said, we've been out for the listening session. I'm not going to speak too much about that. But again, if your issue requires a lot of people at the table, and it requires a lot of people that are way bigger than I mean, like I think a lot of you touched on it. Your issue requires council persons and possibly the executive to make decisions when you're talking about these vouchers and where they're placing people, and you're talking about the issues that is being caused by this. You definitely can contact our Joe Cohen as well and voice your concerns that way. But that's going to be a slower approach because legislatively, he can only bring stuff up as he brings it up. That's what I'm saying. The first thing I think that definitely needs to be
And all those agency heads are collecting nice salaries in nice positions with titles to work on some of these issues. It shouldn't be up to Amy and a few others of us.
I
And
totally
think
agree
that
with you.
I see Terry waiting to talk. I'll let Terry go. But this
Thank
is
you, Harry.
also something that ANC3F can step in and ask the city or ask OTA for help.
But we have to start somewhere, Harry, and I think that's where it has to start, is with 3F. We're gonna have to step in. We will have this conversation and we'll move from there. And we'll definitely need to be other people, but let's talk Thursday and I'll reach out tomorrow and we'll schedule a time and go from there. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Believe me, and I'll just say, believe me, Ms. Shreve, as well as our general counsel, will know by tomorrow that this ANC is going to be reaching out to them or wants someone to reach out to them concerning these issues, these variety of issues.
Mr. Lucas, I will reach out to you, and if you can provide me with the appropriate person to contact, I will do the same thing tomorrow and reach out as well. And I can actually go ahead and do that, but with the information that I have. But any other guidance you have, and thanks for your email
For
address.
everyone, I apologize for everyone. I just put all my information in the chat. So if anybody wants to email to me about, you can even do it. You can do it this way. If you email directly to me or contact me directly with this, or I'll escalate it as many times to our legal and policy division as well, just to make sure that it gets that the numbers gets the attention.
Well, you do what you need to do because that will help us. But I will still contact you tomorrow, Harry and Amy, and include Chair David on this, and we will move forward from there. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lucas. We appreciate that. Moving on to the next item is DDOT with Christian, and I saw you. Christian.
Good evening, Chair David. How are you doing?
How are you?
I'm well. I feel like it's been a while since I've joined you.
Yeah, welcome back. Everyone's been wanting to know about DDOT issues, what's going on with Connecticut Avenue, what's going on with, there was a street lighting initiative. So please.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, hope you all had a great Thanksgiving holiday. It's good to be back. Thanks for having me. I can definitely go over some major projects we have in the area, and then I'll also touch on some minor traffic safety things that were either in the works or have completed, just to give you everyone kind of an overview. For those who don't know me on the call, I'm Christian Pinheiro. I'm the interim community engagement manager at DDOT. So our team is responsible for all liaison works and engagement with council, of course, ANCs, the mayor's office. So we're kind of the go-to point of contact for the agency. Chair, I know you mentioned the Connecticut Avenue project. There isn't much I can say on that particular one. I know that's been a really hot item for a lot of people in the last few months. I think what we can understand for right now is that we're still in a review period. The team is still looking at ways where we could potentially see what next steps we have for the project. I think right now, most of the decision making is up to the mayor's office and the city administrator. They came out a couple months ago to look at some of the feasibility measures. I believe there's several reports and stuff that have been sent to their staff. So I can't speak much on that project right now. I think we're still in that decision making process. But as soon as I get word from any next steps, your ANC will definitely be one of the first to know. We also have the service lane project, which I know is not in 3F. It's actually like in 3C area near Cleveland Park. That's another bigger one that's on the Connecticut Avenue corridor that should be wrapping up completion by January. So for those who aren't familiar, we have the service lane on that portion of Connecticut Avenue that was originally designed kind of as a cut-through street for the businesses on the service lane. We've since remodeled that to be pedestrian only, so we have a lot of constant construction going in that area. But we're wrapping up. We're doing some landscaping, a lot of beautification, widening that portion of the sidewalk, adding some new signal heads that should be operational in the next few weeks. And then did a lot of other sidewalk and ADA work on there as well. So again, not relative to 3F, but part of the whole Connecticut Avenue stretch, which is also something that, you know, we look at holistically. Commissioner Carlson, did you want to ask your question now? I can take it now, or you would want to wait till okay. For the streetlight, our smart streetlight project, so that is a district-wide project we are doing to basically modify all of our streetlight heads to programmable LED lights. So what that means is that we're doing a major overhaul of the current sodium halogen bulbs that have been in since probably the 1960s, and just basically revamping them all up to high quality LEDs. The benefit, as I also mentioned when I said programmable, is that they will have our street lights team will be able to monitor and adjust lighting for certain reasons from the touch of their headquarters. So it would alleviate the requests that the residents have to do to put in like streetlight outages or other requests that would originally go through 311. So we have that capacity to really kind of optimize the lighting across the district. Ward 3 began this portion of the project back in the fall. So for those, you might have already seen some changes across the portion of the ward. I think Chevy Chase, Barnaby Woods, maybe some portions of Van Ness have already been complete. So you might notice a little bit of a difference in lighting. So feel free to, let us know if there's any issues. We have had concerns in the past where there's been what's called light trespass. So certain lights, we've had residents complain that it goes through their homes, in terms of the brightness levels. So we do have a process where we can install shields and other ways to really try to make sure that light is being centralized to that area. But the lights are also integrated in a way where they're based on the roadway class of the city. So that's like, there's an arterial road that's going to have a certain level of wattage that's different from a local road in a neighborhood. So we kind of balance it out to follow those AASHTO standards. So those kind of the big projects we have going on kind of citywide, and that also affect 3F. We do have a couple of traffic safety items that we recently completed in the last couple of months. We did have a speed table installation on the 3100 block of Albemarle Street Northwest, which also included a raised crosswalk at that western side of 32nd and Albemarle. So I worked really closely with Paul Harrison and Commissioner Hewitt on some of those areas, and we're really happy that our team was able to expedite that for installation last quarter. We also have an always stop installation that we did at 36 in Appleton. That was per an NOI that was posted back in June. So that should hopefully address some of those concerns the residents were having with traffic volume and traffic speed. And then we have done a variety of new sidewalk repair and ADA enhancements across the city. We did run recently at the 4800 block of 30th Street. So for those who live in that area or know that area, we've enhanced those intersections with ADA crosswalk pads, extended some of the sidewalks to make them more compliant for persons with disabilities. And so that's kind of part of our regular scheduled routine and maintenance that we do. This is all, of course, all publicly available on our Pave DC website, which I can also link in the chat after I finish. And you can kind of see what's up and coming in the next few weeks according to our schedule. We also have some traffic safety items in the works that have yet to be complete, but are on schedule to be complete. This includes a TSI that was selected this quarter for Chesapeake Street and Connecticut Avenue. So that was an original request that was submitted also back in June, where some residents were complaining about traffic safety concerns that we want to address. So that's currently under review and an investigation. Recommendations and installation of mitigating measures, whatever that looks like, whether it's traffic calming, whether it's some kind of signage, that will be incorporated in the next quarter, which will be Q2 of fiscal year 24. Right now we're in fiscal year 24, Q1. So all our quarters are based on the fiscal schedule, not the calendar year. And then we also have some speed limit and speed hump installations that are expected to be installed on the 3500 block of Alton Place Northwest. That work order was actually initiated last week, right after the Thanksgiving holiday, which was really exciting. So we're also expecting that work to be done next quarter as well, weather and schedule pending, which hopefully we get a warmer, wetter December than most years. So which will be good for us because we typically don't do asphalt milling work when the temperature gets really cold. So we're hoping that we don't get a lot of snow for that to be complete. And then the last thing I'll say is that for looking, 2020 in the future, in hindsight 2020, we do have our new sidewalk gap dashboard that we intend to release in the coming months. I don't have a timeline yet, but this would basically be similar to the TSI dashboard that we have now, but for sidewalk gaps. So we have a newly created team at DDOT that focuses solely on new sidewalk construction, which I know Commissioner Carlson and I have been working closely on many of those across the city, especially in the Forest Hills neighborhood. So that would be a little bit more of a transparent tool that the public can use to look at, see what sidewalks are slated for the next year or the year after, ranking it on a scale. I'm more than happy to go into that in more depth when that actually is released, and we'll probably be able to go to your ANC meeting again and other ANCs across the ward to really promote that as well. So just to give you a little flavor of what to expect, but that's definitely on the books for us.
Awesome. We have Commissioner Carlson, then we'll go to David, then Gloria, then Commissioner James and Derek.
Thanks, Christian. This is my favorite topic. First a comment, which is Bob Daling and I were elected in this group to be representatives of the Citizens Advisory Council for the Connecticut Avenue redesign. We have consistently contacted Ed Stoloff on this issue, and I was just told just today in a response that I should just check the website by Ed. So I'd like to assure the people on the call that your ANC would like to be working on this. We would like to be involved in making Connecticut Avenue safer in every way. And we are being stymied somewhat, not by our friend Christian personally, because he's super responsive to us as best he can. But I just want everyone to know that we've not forgotten. We're working on it, and we continue to pester other people at DDOT. And secondly, thank you again for your work in helping us understand how we can better address sidewalk gaps. I get emails all the time from people in my neighborhood saying, oh, there's just this little piece of sidewalk, or it would be so much safer if we just got this fixed. Can't we just get this fixed? And I think, oh my gosh, for 10 years, I've been writing these or more same emails. They're like, oh, well, of course, this makes sense. We should get this little piece of sidewalk connected because kids have to go back out into the street at Fessenden. And it keeps just not happening. These are sidewalks that are very close to our elementary schools, middle school, Jackson Reed. And I really will continue again to pester other people other than you, but also you, because people are speeding more and more through our neighborhoods, and it is really unsafe for our kids. Connecticut Avenue is unsafe. I've now been on, I think, 4 walkthroughs with the merch community on trying to get this addressed. I know Paul spoke earlier about the fact that we are contacting the local schools in our ANC, along with Schools and Universities Chair James Tanderek, to try and approach it from that direction, because we feel like we get stymied everywhere we go. We're never going to get high enough on a TSI. How can we better? So coming to the question, sorry, everybody. The question is, is there a better way that we're not seeing here? Because I do feel like we've gone every which way to Sunday to try and address some of these issues. Do you have any advice for us or for other people, not not ANC commissioners, who are writing to us saying well, this seems stupid, Courtney, why can't you get this done? I agree with you. It's stupid. Why can't we get this done?
Yeah, no, I know you and I have had conversations about this on numerous occasions. So,
Sorry.
no, it's not your fault. You're doing what you need to do as a commissioner, and you know, my job is to provide you with what our agency is doing to address those factors. So I completely agree with you 100%. I think what our division and what my team specifically is trying to work on with the community is how we can provide a more holistic scope when it comes to traffic safety. Right now, the consistent response and the consistent policy we have is that the prioritization model is our go-to. It looks at data, it looks at the quantifying measures on traffic speed, crashes, locations next to schools, this whole kind of bubble of variety of different factors that go into what's being chosen. And we're really trying to find a way where are the non-objective, if I should say, measures, where they exist, and how does the ANC have an ample voice with that? I can't tell you where we're at right now with that, because I think that's going to be an ongoing conversation, whether we continue to revamp the TSI process. But I will continue to be an advocate for you on that. Right now, what we've been pushing is to have ANCs provide resolutions with the TSI numbers. And what my team has been doing is actually putting those resolutions inside the TSI numbers that are in the dashboard. So essentially it's an internal system, but the resolutions would act as like an additional weight to carrier for, say, you know, for a request. So when the engineers look at it, they recognize, okay, this not only populated in the prioritization model, but there's a track record history that the ANC has been asking for this, that the residents have said this and this. So it's going to be a baby step process. And I wish, as someone who loves government operations and is a fan of making systematic changes, that, you know, that we try
So
to
if we say, whereas we want a sidewalk and print it on our letterhead, we're more likely to get a sidewalk.
Well, you know, we try to take as much community input as we can. And, you know, a part of that is also recognizing that there is a level of decorum that we must keep when it comes to engineering evaluation, right? You know, we can't just always feed the requests of the community, but there's a process when it comes specifically for sidewalks. In your case, you know, a lot of that has to do with moving, unfortunately, either permitted or unpermitted objects in the right of way, whether that's a shrubbery, whether that's a retaining wall. We have to look at the underground subsurface to make sure we're not impacting any drainage lines, catch basins. So there's a larger infrastructural change that goes into that. And you know, I saw someone in the comments say that, you know, it sounds like an excuse. And I feel that statement. You know, I definitely, if I was a resident and I heard myself saying that, I would probably think the same thing. But unfortunately, that's just how the process is. And I wish I could stand here and not sound like I'm making excuses, but I'm trying to be as honest and frank as we can, that it will be, you know, kind of a long collaborative process. If that helps. That was probably not the answer you were hoping for, but I hope that helps.
Just to speak to that, what Christian does, I will defend you a little bit here. I mean, he has come out and walked the sidewalks with me on multiple occasions. He's been in every walkthrough we've had with the merch community. So like, we don't want to beat up on you because you've really, you know, you've spent time with us, you've stood up for us, and we know it's not you. So thanks for your advocacy on our behalf.
We've got 4 more questions. You're hot tonight, Christian. So the next person is David, then Gloria, James, then Commissioner Hewitt. David.
Okay. Yeah, hi again, everyone. Christian Hein, David Weinberg here. Nice to chat with you.
Likewise.
So I'm asking what many people are wondering about, and what is the status of the Connecticut Avenue multimodal project? As I understand, it was in a reevaluation phase once Concept C was decided upon, and that was many, many months ago. I understand that the reevaluation was to be complete by this fall, and here we are approaching the end of the year, and what I see on the DDOT website is, quote, it's under a reevaluation phase. Consequently, there's no timeline for design or construction. Citizen advocacy committee meetings are likely to resume in the fall of 2023. And when I hit the link, it says under committee citizen advocacy, there are no meetings scheduled, check back soon. So we thought we would have the final resolution by this time. And it sounds like we're just starting the reevaluation project over now with no meeting scheduled. I'll also add, I was just biking today, right down Connecticut Avenue. I went up to Rock Creek Park, over through Western Drive and down Connecticut Avenue. As I'm coming down Connecticut Avenue from Chevy Chase Circle, I was approached by two cars beeping their horns at me because I'm on the right-hand side of Connecticut Avenue going down, and they want to make a right turn, and I'm in their way. I think bicyclists, pedestrians, people who use mass transit, everyone deserves safety when they're moving about. And I'm not saying anything you don't know. I guess I'm just speaking out of frustration that we thought there would be an answer by this time. And now I see the project is just starting. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, no, sir. I definitely, first want to say I do share your frustration. I think as a liaison, whose my job is to make sure I'm informing the community adequately on progressing these projects. I too was under the hope that we would have some kind of public meeting or some kind of final rendering that we could share this season. But as all projects, right, and this is just kind of the factor of when you do something as large scale as a 3.5 mile long stretch where you're, a lot of different stakeholders, a lot of businesses, a lot of public involvement. I think over the last few months, since we had our last meeting back in June, we've really started to get a sense of what the opinions and the feedback and the costs associated with this project are. And I can't speak into big detail. I'm not on the project engineering team or the planning team, so I only know just as much as what I learned from them. But I do recognize that we hope that we can move this forward in the next, beginning of 2024. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I definitely do think that checking the website would probably be the best course of action because that's where the most immediate updates will be. You are more than happy to contact me, of course, as well. And I'm happy to, work with you and work with Ed to see if we can come up with some kind of, better strategy as we work towards this. But I do recognize your concerns, and I'll make sure that Ed and his team recognize that there's frustration going on with this kind of stalled approach that we've had. Which, unfortunately can be some of the drawbacks of doing something so drastic changing as this project.
Okay,
Thank you. Gloria Garcia.
Yes. Hi, Christian. It's Gloria from Venice Main Street. Good to see you.
Likewise.
I'm just going to add to more question for information. You might recall that we also were in 30% first phase design complete for the streetscape project, which is kind of tied to pedestrian safety and our sidewalks. I mean, if you look at Yuma with the brick and in front of the law school at 4340, that is, constant complaining about those. I mean, it's difficult to walk that street. And so just wonder if not now, but in the next, meeting, how can we find out where the streetscape project is in the priority list, because it really helps with stormwater management as well as with pedestrian safety. It was supposed to go hopefully hand in hand with the intermodal, but I think it can also stand alone. So just if you know anything of where it is on the priority list, since we don't have, we just have, initial design right now.
Yeah, just to be clear, Gloria, and great to see you again. You're referring to the phase 1 or phase 2 of the streetscape, because they're actually broken up into 2 phases. Phase 1 was the drainage portion, which I believe went from the watershed on Macomb Street south or so to Connecticut Avenue, and then phase 2 is the project I mentioned in the beginning when I came on about the streetscape change. We did the service lane change, we did some expansion of the sidewalks, some signal head adjustments. That project is slated for completion no later than January 2024.
Right.
So we do have a timeline for that.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the streetscape improvement project that we have initial design from Albemarle to Van Ness and up Yuma and up Wyndham. This was completed in 2021, I believe.
Okay.
And so we just don't want that to stall either. And we kept getting, oh, once Cleveland Park is complete, we'll look up, we'll start looking north. So
Got it.
just kind of,
Okay.
if we have to go fight for that funding, we just have to, we fought for the 1.5 million for that initial design. It should be on the priority list.
Yeah, I can check with our planner. I believe his name is Ted Van Houten. He may have been the lead on that project.
Yeah, he is.
It's possible, and we also want to advocate for our own projects too, right? It not to kind of point fingers, but it does end up being a battle when it comes to what council's budgetary, priorities are, and some projects don't make the list and whatnot. So it could potentially be that this is one of those situations. I'll circle back this week.
You might know, since
no, not off the top of my head, but I can definitely check to see where we're at in that process. If there's, if it got pushed to a later budget year, if the funding got, adjusted in some capacity. So I'll definitely reach out to you and let
we
you
can
know.
reach out to Ted too. We have, but
Okay.
just thought maybe you would know, because I don't want that to fall, by the wayside. I think our economic development committee is going to take it up as well.
Understood. Yeah, no, thank you for bringing that up.
Thanks.
Thank you. James and then Terry. Or Terry then. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. Christian, I think it's very clear, you gotta come back more often, man. Because all the questions being asked to you tonight.
Put me in the top of the meeting, and I'll have all the time you want.
I mean, yeah, you know what? We got a meeting in January. You can easily stop on by for sure. I want to go back to David's question about like the DDOT bike lanes. And I just want to ask you about what are some of the plans like coming up like next year? Something that was really great about in last year was that there were multiple ways for community engagement. I went to 2 of the 3 events you guys had and ANC3F. And I'm curious as to what are some of the plans moving forward for next year. And I mean, like, I agree with David. Like, I want the bike lanes. I know there are many residents 3F that also want the bike lanes on Connecticut Avenue. Multiple ANCs and like or on Connecticut Avenue voted in support of this a couple of years ago. So, there is definitely a number of people that are in support for this initiative. And so I'm just asking you about what are some of the efforts being planned for next year in regards to moving this project forward, because there is a lot of people that are supportive of this project.
Well, we definitely hope to have at least some traction of what our action items are next year. I think that I'll still be pushing for those as well, whether what that looks like, but I think for us and for me specifically with our team, I would love to have some public conversations on what the final design looks like so we can actually get it into installation, right? And that's not me being biased. I'm just saying I understand that that's kind of the wide scope we have as an agency to promote sustainability and multimodalism. And so we recognize that that's part of not only the mayor's priority list, but it's on our Move DC transportation plan. So the things I'm saying are not, these are Christian's ideas and this is what he would want, but it's part of our larger agency goal. So I think we would push for that, but we want to make sure, because this is such a delicate project and a delicate situation, we don't want to, we don't want to rush into things. And I think, and I say that knowing that some people are probably going to be like, oh, we've already waited so many years for this, right? So I get it. And I think there's this kind of this game of tug of war, right? When we're repping with, such a major cosmetic change to Connecticut Avenue, right? And so I that may sound like a political answer, so I hope it doesn't. I hope it's satisfactory, but I feel like that's what I can commit to you, is that I hope we have some direction we can go to, and that we can continue to talk to the ANCs on what our next steps are.
Is there anything the ANC can do in regards to moving that along, or I mean, is it like a resolution? I mean, similar to what like Courtney's comment about like the TSIs as well. Like what would you recommend for the ANC to help move along this process?
Well, I think in our situation, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of it has to do with like decisions from EOM, so the mayor's office, city administrator. I'm not going to stop you from sending letters to that office if it takes that type of engagement from the public. But you're also still welcome to loop us in as well. I think you're doing your ANC commissioners, in my opinion, have the toughest job. You're kind of in the middle of all of it. I don't want to put the onus on you to kind of have the government kind of step up in that regard. But because this is such a touchy subject, I definitely feel that if there was greater push from the ANC to encourage council or vice versa to elevate, what does this look like for the mayor's agenda, for our agenda, could be a possibility to get some traction.
All right, we're getting short on time. So Terry, then I see what's going on. So Lee, 1 minute, and then Steven, 1 minute. Terry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll try to be quicker than 1 minute. I just actually wanted to echo what, hi Christian, how are you?
Great to see you again as always.
It's good to see you too. I just wanted to echo what Courtney said, and I can't thank you enough, and it was a lot of hard work, and Paul did a lot of heavy lifting, Paul Harrison, and but with all of that and knowing there's so many, it was a maze in a sense of policy. And I live in policy, but this is a very interesting policy thing. But that speed, what do you call it? The speed table is such a huge change. And I just wanted to say thank you. I see people taking it with their children going to school or going wherever they're going, and cars, trucks, no matter what their size, they're stopping. And that's huge. So thank you.
No, I appreciate that sentiment. Thank you so much.
Real quick question about Reno. Are you guys doing anything about Reno?
In terms of like current TSIs or just in general large scale?
Yeah, because we've gotten a lot of emails about residents not feeling safe crossing Reno at all, because there really are no safety measures on Reno.
Yeah, I checked
There's
earlier.
a couple of traffic lights, but
yeah, no, I checked earlier today and there was nothing that populated for this quarter for Reno, but that doesn't mean that there aren't potential selections will not, there are not other locations that will be selected for next quarter. And so, but I will also check and see if there's like existing studies being done, because I am familiar with a lot of concerns on Reno Road and a lot of this intersection. I think 41st and Reno comes up a lot to me as well. So I can definitely look back with the team and just to see if there's any low-hanging fruit, I like to call it, we can do.
Okay. All right, thanks. Lee, 1 minute, and then Steven, and then we have to move on.
Okay, I'll be quick. You've heard from the vocal minority. Save Connecticut Avenue has almost 4,000 signatures on their petitions opposing the bike lane project. DDOT acknowledges that traffic congestion will occur, which will slow emergency response times. The project also will negatively affect disabled and handicapped people. And the project is seriously flawed and just can't be fixed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And then Steven.
Thanks, Chair David. So, Christian, I don't envy you. Believe me, if I were to have a firm where I needed someone who was doing PR, you would be my first selection. But I really, you're giving some promises about the future that I really just think it would be great if you would acknowledge that your leadership hasn't spoken to you about this, and that you sent a plan up to the mayor, and now it looks like this is on hold. Did I get that chronology right? Have you been updated by any of your leadership on what's going on? Has anybody said anything to you from the leadership team about timing? I'm just, it's a yes or no answer. I don't want you to go on. And did the plans go to the mayor? Did she see them?
So for your first question, no, I have not received any direct guidance from senior leadership. The only information I've received from the project team that Ed oversees is that we're still in a current reevaluation phase. What that looks like, I don't know the granular pieces, but that's all I know. And I'm sure that they are working.
It could also be on hold. It could be that nothing's being done.
I don't want to negate that option. It's very possible that is also
okay. And did the plans go to the mayor?
I believe they went to the city administrator, the last of my knowledge. I'm pretty sure the mayor has had meetings and has engaged on the matter, but I cannot confirm or deny if she's actually seen.
So it's reasonable to assume that the mayor's weighed in on what she wants to have happen. And if she wanted this to happen, it would be happening. Is that a reasonable conclusion?
I think that's a fair assessment, although I would probably reach out to the Ward 3 liaison for the mayor's office to get a more direct concrete. I'm not the spokesperson for the executive office of the mayor, so I don't want to step on any toes, but that would probably be the best course.
Thank you so much, Christian, for meeting with us tonight and answering all of our questions. We will surely have you on again. Really appreciate you, and we'll follow up with you soon, sooner than later. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair David. Thanks for having me. You have a good evening.
Same to you. We will now go on to, we have two more things on the item now. So it's 3615 Cumberland Street, and then we will hear from Washington Gas on the pipeline project. Marty Sullivan. We'll come back to you, Marty, if you're not ready.
He's here. Oh, Marty, I think you're talking, but we can't hear you at all.
Yeah.
Oh, yep. Hey, Marty.
Sorry about that. I could hear you, but I guess my speaker's not working. So, yeah, thank you. And with us here is also Sean Bueller, the architect for the project, and Jenny Mandel, the property owner. So I'll just explain real quickly what the relief is, and then Sean can show you the plans. The relief is for it's a special exception. There's a requirement that an accessory building shall not be located within a required rear yard. And essentially what it ends up being is a distance requirement between the house and the accessory building, because the required rear yard is measured from the rear line of the house back. And in this case, it's 25 feet back. So in this case, we have an existing accessory building that is already in the required rear yard. We're doing a small addition, one-story addition to the rear of the house, which essentially does not extend the rear line of the house back any further than it currently is. It doesn't change the boundaries of the required rear yard, doesn't change anything with the accessory building. Nevertheless, we've been told by a reviewer that we need relief. And after 2 months of begging for an answer from the new zoning administrator, we've been unable to get a clarification. So we had to go to BZA in order to get an answer to this. So I'll turn it over to Sean. And Sean, if you can share the plans.
Yes, let me, excuse me, let me pull up the plans. Is everyone able to see that?
Yep.
So, excuse me, thanks, Marty. This is a site plan. Again, at the risk of repeating some of what Marty said, it's a single family residence. And there is an existing detached garage behind the home. I'm cursoring the footprint of the home as it originally was built. A few years ago, a one-story rear addition was located over here. And now the homeowner is proposing to essentially extend the addition over to fill in this corner. As Marty noted, the addition does not push the back of the house any further back than it already goes. In fact, the previous addition is 3 feet deeper than this portion. And so we're really not encroaching on the required rear yard any further than had already been allowed. The previous addition was permitted without issue. So that's the site plan. The addition is 1 story. It's essentially expanding the kitchen back a little bit toward the garage. And I don't know if it's entirely relevant, but I can bring up a floor plan that shows this is simply the first floor that shows the previous addition over here. And then it shows the kitchen being pushed back a little. I'm happy to answer any questions if folks want to see what it looks like on the exterior. This is the previous addition over here, and the proposed addition is simply extending that existing roof line and using the same vocabulary. Again, I'm happy to answer any questions. I'll take it back to the site plan, which is the most relevant.
Thank you. And I don't see anything controversial about this at all. Are there any questions from the commissioners?
Have there been any conversation with the neighbors and any objection or support from the neighbors, or has that been asked? It
The
doesn't
homeowner
seem
has
like it
reached out.
infringes on anybody, but
Oh, sorry. The homeowners reached out to the neighbors on either side. And Jenny will correct me if I say this wrong, but the neighbor on the side where the addition is proposed does not object, and I think has even offered a letter of support.
We do have a letter of support, Sean, for that. Yeah, we got it in the file yesterday.
Got it. And then the neighbor on the other side has been made aware of the project. It can't be seen from their house because it's blocked by the previous addition. I gather it's an elderly neighbor, and so the process of getting a support letter comes with some inherent complications, but there was no objection raised when the project was mentioned.
thank you.
Any questions from members of the community at all? Thank you. Do you know when you'll have your hearing or where you have to
Yeah, we don't actually have a date yet, and it's going to be expedited review, so we should just have a decision unless it gets pulled off the calendar. But we haven't gotten a date yet. I would expect January.
Okay, because our plan is to vote on this in January. Our next meeting is January 16th. So right now it's we're letting the community know about this. And then we'll vote on it. Just give it some time, and then we'll vote on it in January, just to make sure we cover ourselves just for any reason.
Okay, I hope we're okay with it because it's expedited review, it'll get on. If it was a regular hearing, I wouldn't worry about it being going on until late February or March. But because it's expedited, it could go on sooner. But I can, I could reach out to zoning and ask them to schedule the decision after. But this is really simple case. This is as simple as it gets.
It is. I mean, we could vote tonight as well, because I mean, there is nothing else but this, right?
Yeah, that's it. It's just this one-story addition in the corner.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to vote on support of the special exception.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? And any abstained? And the motion passes. So I'll follow up with you soon with the approval from the ANC.
Thank you.
It was that simple. Jenny is like, what's going on, really? So I will follow up with you all. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. The next item on the agenda is Washington Gas. Thank you everyone for your patience with us. Washington Gas, with the Assistant Vice President of Washington Gas, Ms. Melissa Adams.
So, hi, Chair David, it's Portia. I think we've been exchanging messages. I just wanted to greet everyone and introduce who will be speaking tonight. My name is Portia Hurt, and I am DC Manager for Government Relations for Washington Gas. Also went to Howard Law, so I have my cup here in honor of that. And was classmates with William Jolly, so it was good to see him here. But I wanted to introduce Monica West first, who will be speaking, who is our Manager of Community Engagement. And then we will have Melissa Adams, who is our Assistant Vice President of Policy, Climate, and Solutions. And so I will turn the floor over to them. And thank you again so much for allowing us to speak. And I wanted to give a special acknowledgement to Commissioner Slatnick, who I had the pleasure of meeting earlier this month at a meeting that we hosted. So thank you again for that.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, Commissioner Slatnick.
I don't have anything to say. I wanted to be sure that that we had someone from Washington Gas who would be making the presentation, rather than a kind of community relations kind of person. Because the people there at the meeting felt as though they did not understand what things were being done by Washington Gas to help with the sustainability. It seemed as all it was going to be was a 40-year project with a very big dollar amount, and that there was no discussion about trying to either use this infrastructure thing to put in some, I'm not an urban planner here, of using this construction also to put in infrastructure for the future, like possibly making sure that you had the wiring or whatever if one were going to be converting to electricity at a certain point.
So thank you for that, Commissioner, and thank you, Portia. I really appreciate you all and Miss Adams for attending, because we did hear from an advocacy group about this, and we did not want to make any decisions without hearing from you first. So welcome, and please tell us about the project.
So I'll get started and then I'll toss it over to Melissa. But again, I'm Monica West, I'm Director of Community Engagement for Washington Gas. Just to give a little background on Project Pipes. The Project Pipes is a national effort. It actually started under the Obama administration back in 2012. So the U.S. Department of Transportation began to have national conversation, not just in the district, on accelerated infrastructure replacement. Washington Gas then started the process of a comprehensive review of our own pipeline system, and the work being done in tandem with our normal kind of pipeline maintenance program. So Project Pipes is a 40-year pipe replacement program happening throughout the district and other parts of the country as well. It is approved by the DCPSC. The project was designed to enhance safety and reliability of our gas system. The plan was approved and allowed Washington Gas to replace our aging infrastructure alongside regular scheduled maintenance. The project continues to work to enhance the safety and reliability of our system. By the end of 2024, we would have replaced approximately 22 miles of pipe throughout the district. And that pipe is prioritized and selections done based on the relative risk and the construction effectiveness of the pipes. So that's how we determine what that is. The benefits, though, of Project Pipes, so it has allowed us to install safety valves, new technology, updating our mapping facilities, and upgrading to our low pressure systems. We do have 3 projects in Ward 3. 2 are on Tilden Street. They actually have an estimated completion date of the end of 2023, based on whether it might go into January, but we're hoping to get those projects done. We also have one on Military Road and another one on Cathedral Avenue. And Military Road has an estimated end date of the end of December, and Cathedral Avenue will stretch into April of 2024. Those are the only 3 approved projects that we have in the Ward 3 area. I'm going to let Melissa speak to the climate and climate change issue. Melissa?
Hi, everybody, and thank you again for having us. It's actually a big, complex discussion, climate, but I'll give you the like 2-minute recap of what we're doing in terms of working to support the district's climate targets. So essentially, we focus in 3 different areas. One starts with our customers and use and energy efficiency. The other is in the area of infrastructure and operations, and that's what Monica was just touching on. And then finally, we're very focused on supply and reducing emissions associated with both conventional natural gas and then taking action to facilitate the introduction and use of lower carbon gases, including renewable natural gas and hydrogen. So if we just take them one at a time, on the energy efficiency front, we're working with the DC Public Service Commission to get approval to restore customer access to energy efficiency programs that were previously administered by the DCSCU. And our proposals would reinstate these programs to support higher efficiency appliances, customer energy reports, and other programs that help both reduce emissions as well as customer bills. In terms of infrastructure and operations, we're working towards a 30% reduction of emissions associated with our pipes. And we're about 18% there today. And again, it's Project Pipes. That's the main strategy to reduce emissions with pipes. We've got the system-wide modernization program. Again, it's replacing older pipes with new modern materials that essentially do not or emit any emissions. And since we started Project Pipes, we've been able to reduce about 24,000 metric tons of emissions. We're also changing a lot of our operational procedures. We're piloting advanced technology to detect leaks. Initially, we actually experimented with satellite technology and advanced data analytics, and now we've transitioned to vehicle-mounted technology. And so these technologies help us more quickly identify and assess leaks, and then they're going to contribute to our decision-making process with respect to which pipes to replace, in addition to the sort of traditional risk-based approach that Monica was talking about, which is really a safety, reliability, resiliency approach. We're also then overlaying assessment in terms of greenhouse gas emissions. We're also working on a lot of new processes in terms of when we do certain repairs or replacement work. We're now using special equipment to capture and re-inject gas when we do repairs rather than purge it into the atmosphere. And we also use a similar process when we put in new pipe. It essentially vacuums out air and gas instead of just pushing it out into the atmosphere. And then we can re-inject that gas back into the system. And we have another set of initiatives that we've used with respect to our buildings, whether it's through solar panels that we've installed. We also have the East Coast's first fuel cell, and we just upgraded that to so that it will be ready to use hydrogen, and that powers a lot of the energy we use in our Springfield facility. And we've also got a very sizable fleet of compressed natural gas vehicles that we expect to be running on renewable natural gas, so they'll be basically carbon neutral, hopefully within the year, or roughly, because we just signed a new, we're working to close a new renewable natural gas deal. So operationally, that's where we are, which again brings me to the supply area. And so we're focused on several areas in terms of reducing emissions. One relates to the conventional natural gas that we purchase. So we supply about half the gas that's delivered to our customers. The other half is actually purchased directly by our customers. So like big customers like the District of Columbia will often buy their own gas. But in terms of the gas that we're supplying, we are now purchasing what's called certified natural gas from producers that are third-party certified. by external parties to be producing gas with lower emissions intensity, which is extremely important because in the sort of natural gas value chain, the emissions associated with the upstream production and extraction are very high. So the gas we've begun buying now has a much lower carbon emissions intensity, and it's certified by folks like, there's something called the MIQ standard, which is something that Rocky Mountain Institute worked to help develop. We're also now just signing some of our first renewable natural gas contracts, and that's where we are capturing gas that has processed. It's essentially biogas that we actually are all creating through, we're capturing it at waste facilities, wastewater treatment facilities, and this gas would otherwise be flared or emitted into the atmosphere. So we just, about a year ago, connected the Piscataway plant, which is part of WSSC, to our system. And we just announced that we are finalizing a deal with the Prince William County landfill. So that will soon connect to our system as well. And there are a number of other locations around that we are responding to. Prince George's County has got an RFP out for renewable natural gas development, Loudoun County. And then closer to home, right here in the district, we see a lot of potential perhaps at Blue Plains. And, you see a lot of methane and waste that could possibly be captured as well from other transfer stations like Fort Totten, because landfills actually are one of the biggest sources of methane and greenhouse gas emissions in the region. We're also exploring hydrogen. The fuel cell that I mentioned that we have in Springfield, it should be coming in January or February, that it's going to be certified to be hydrogen ready. So we are looking forward to introducing hydrogen into the fuel cell, which essentially then will have no emissions there. And we see a lot of opportunity and possibility with respect to hydrogen in terms of transportation as well. So that's a new area that we are also exploring. So we also give updates every 6 months in terms of sort of what's new, what we're working on related to what we call our climate business plan. And we're actually sharing an update on December 14th, where we're going to be digging further into renewable natural gas, and we'll have some guest speakers. We do this roughly every 6 months, and we usually try to invite, other parties to talk about sustainable practices, issues, technologies, supplies. So you can also find more information at Washington Gas DC climatebusinessplan.com. It's sort of a mouthful, but it's Washington Gas DC climatebusinessplan.com. So that is, I probably burned through more than 2 minutes, but sort of a quick overview.
No, thank you. Thank you, Washington Gas team, for that. It's very much appreciated. Any questions from commissioners, and then we'll get questions from the community. Commissioner Tendera, Commissioner Slotnick.
Hi, it's Monica from Washington Gas. Real quick, I think Marie, did you want to chime in with anything before we? Sorry, Trudy. I just see her online, and I didn't want to. And she's part of our team. I didn't want to.
Oh, where?
Thank you, Monica. No, nothing to add at this point. If you want me to speak to a question, I'm happy to do so.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Trudy. All right, I just saw her, and I didn't want to overlook her. I'm sorry.
Okay, Marie, Ms. Johns.
Yes, Chair David.
Oh, okay. You're with Washington Gas as well?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
my company
okay.
supports Washington Gas.
Okay. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
joining us. Have we got any questions from the community?
I'm also a Ward 3 resident. I'll put that in just to make sure I have
okay.
a little bit more extra credit for being on the call.
Okay. No, thank you. I see a question from Ann. Hi, Ann.
Hi, thank you, Chair David. I appreciate this opportunity to speak. My concern is that the 40-year accelerated pipeline replacement program is on a collision course with the district's transition to truly carbon-free energy. And I'm a Washington Gas customer. I live in Ward 3. And I'm concerned about the cost of this program. I'd like to ask maybe Ms. Adams to tell me what is the per mile cost currently for project pipes?
I actually don't know the per mile project plan. I don't know if Monica might or Marie, because you work on the project pipes program more so than I do, but
I do not know the per mile.
I can see that for year 7, it was 4.9, it was over $4.9 million a mile in year 7. I haven't seen anything since then in the filings. But that's a very, very expensive replacement program. There were other things that came up in your summary that I would question too, but I'm just going to focus on the cost right now, because I think with a high cost like that and the district's plan for electrification, we're going to have some very significant stranded costs down the line. And as a ratepayer, I really don't want to pay for those, and I don't want my children paying for them either, because that's waste. Those are pipes that won't be used or useful as we retract the gas system and convert to electrification in areas of the district. So just putting that comment there before you, if you have any response.
yeah, well, I have a number of thoughts there. Infrastructure is very expensive, whether it's electric or gas, and the upgrades, that will be needed on the electric side will be significant. And also just a reminder in terms of winter heating bills. The Department of Energy essentially is saying this year that winter heating bills for electricity will be 76% higher than those for gas. And so, I mean, that's something else to just bear in mind in terms of the operating costs for heating. And they're ongoing.
Little off target for my question. I respect your information that you're giving on heating costs.
Can I go to Kesh and then Terry?
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm a little sort of amazed, Ms. Adams, because your comments really kind of make it seem like this project is very much a, response to climate change and taking climate action. And it sounds pretty impressive. I have to admit, I have questions about hydrogen and renewable natural gas, which I would like you to explain to me. But it is my understanding that every major environmental group in DC is very strongly opposed to this plan. So what sounds like a very environmentally friendly program, I must say, seems to me a little bit of a case of greenwashing there. And it really sounds to me like rather than transitioning away from fossil fuels, which is in our interest, in the public interest, it is naturally the aim of your company to continue to keep us dependent on this fossil fuel. But if you can explain to me what renewable natural gas is,
Sure.
And also to please explain the source of hydrogen, because my understanding is that hydrogen is overwhelmingly produced by fossil fuels.
So, you raise a number of points, and in terms of carbon reductions. The climate business plan that I shared actually has a fair amount of hybrid heating in it. So it's a combination of sort of using electricity when it works best, embracing to a certain degree air source heat pumps, and then using natural gas as the peaking source so that you're not like overbuilding peak energy just to be used 10 or 12 times a year. And that, I mean, if you sort of dig into this, you're talking about like doubling the transmission system, doubling infrastructure to deal with winter peaking. So that's just something to keep in mind when you think about it. So it's sort of using both energy sources for, you know, their best purpose, if you will. In terms of hydrogen, the hydrogen that we will be looking at over the long term would be hydrogen that would be renewably produced. So the natural gas system really functions like a giant battery and storage facility in many ways. And that's very different right now from the way the electric system functions. So to the extent that you can create hydrogen with renewable sources through hydrolysis, you can store and then transport it. But I don't want to leave the impression that we're going to be able to use hydrogen at a very large scale for thermal purposes anytime soon. You know, it would be something that we would blend in, it would occur over time. So that, you know, so that's, I just want to give the hydrogen issue some context there. And in terms of renewable natural gas, that is waste gas that we capture and or process from primarily landfills or wastewater treatment facilities in the area. And so there are different life cycle emissions associated with different sources. In some cases, they can be negative. In other cases, you know, they would be, say, half the carbon intensity of conventional natural gas. So it would come from a variety of sources and essentially displace conventional natural gas and also then reduce emissions that would otherwise be vented to the atmosphere. And I also just want to say, I realize this won't be popular, but I just went on the PJM's website and 65% of the electricity that's being generated right now is coming from coal and gas. And electricity production, about 66% of the energy that is used to make that electricity is waste. It's dissipated through the generation process, it's lost in transmission and distribution. And when you get natural gas delivered, you're getting 92% of the energy delivered to your place of use. Whereas with electricity right now, you're getting about 32, 34% of that useful energy delivered to you. So energy is a complex issue, and there really is no perfect single solution. You know, our position is going to take a number of things. We see benefits in air source heat pumps. We see benefits in hybrid heating, but we also see a tremendous amount of benefit to the infrastructure we have available to us and making good use of it.
Thank you. Commissioner Hewitt.
Thank you, Chair David. Thank you, Washington Gas representatives and community. The question I would have to Washington Gas is, and also to Miss, and pardon me, I'm going to mispronounce your name, I apologize, Miss Dubois, and it's not Dubois, it's U-Y. How do you pronounce your name?
Dubois.
Dubois, merci. So the question I have for Washington Gas, and maybe for the audience, is when you're looking at infrastructure is expensive. and it's a two-part question or comment as well. Rolling back the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years, it might be good to have perspective, to know how much it cost to install those pipes with the technology then, and relaying how much that cost to install. And maybe that will help to build some composite of a picture. That's one. And two, for Washington Gas, do you have some sort of either almost like a ride along or event where individuals can go to see how this all works? Because I imagine when I hear about pipes and there's mapping associated with it, I think of the electrical components to it, the GPS components to it, and there's that cybersecurity component as well. So I'm just curious if you have something that helps to maybe better, to more so add to what you've said to help the community also understand what's going on.
Well, that's an interesting question, because it is a very complex process. You know, when we put pipe in, we have to be careful of everybody else's infrastructure, and that, you know, adds cost and complexity. And, you know, then I guess we had folks from DDOT, so there's a lot of complexity with how we also work in the streets and, you know, not snarl traffic and things like that. But that's a good question for Marie and Monica, because it probably would be really, I mean, I personally have found it fascinating seeing how, you know, the team puts in pipe and what they need to do. So I don't know, Monica, you know, that might be an interesting opportunity for folks to see what we do.
Monica, if I may say a word in response to Commissioner Hewitt.
Sure.
Thank you, Melissa. So Commissioner, in response to your question about a quote unquote ride along program, that has been part of the community engagement strategy related to Project Pipes from the beginning, because as your question implies, a picture or a visual certainly beats a lot of talking about what something looks like. And so we, the community engagement team under Monica's leadership, works hard to stay in touch with the ANCs as well as other community organizations around the city, civic organizations, council staffers, MOKers, et cetera. And we organize street neighborhood walks so that individuals can see what the work looks like. To Melissa's point, what staging is necessary, what traffic control requirements are necessary, how to make sure that the work is done as safely and as efficiently and as least to the least disruptive degree as possible. So we have been doing that for the last several years, and we're happy to continue to organize those as folks would like. So we'd be happy to follow up with you to organize one if you would like for us to do that.
That would be pretty terrific. And I think that if individuals could see some sort of a schematic, because when we walk on a sidewalk or cross a street, some of us may know the complexity that goes on 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 feet below us, but some may not. And so there is this very interesting puzzle. I think there's also when you mentioned mapping of piping and the cybersecurity component, when you look at the DHS or the federal level, there's another entity of things that go on that the public doesn't understand, which are about security. And I don't want to go into detail because I don't want to scare anybody or just to say, hey, you know, stuff happens, but there is a cybersecurity component to things that we don't think about because there are people who think about this stuff. And I think it's important if it can be clearly put out there, hey, this is what we're dealing or tackling with, and this is what's going on underneath your streets, and this is why piping is costing you this much money. But I do think it's also important to have that comparable, let's say the last 30, 40 years, how much it cost. You know, it's sort of like building F-15s. And people are really, it's expensive, but then you think about what were the first 2 or 3 and look at where we are now. So anyhow, that's just my 2 cents, and I know it's already late, so thank you so much for your time.
And I appreciate everyone from Washington Gas joining us. I wanted to just lastly just ask, because one of the main things is that you know, DC is committed to legislation to protect climate by reducing greenhouse gas emissions to a net zero level by 2045. And folks feel like this initiative is preventing DC from meeting this this goal by 2045. So what do you have to say to that?
Yeah, I would say, well, I would disagree with that. In fact, the pipe replacement actually lowers emissions, and then the gas over time we're proposing to put in those pipes is lower in emissions. We're also projecting lower volumetric deliveries in certain areas as well. So those emissions go down. And the climate business plan that I referred to, which is a little bit dated now because we put it out in 2020, but essentially it maps out, you can see sort of the tranches of where those reductions are coming from. And the plan, it predated, now the target is 2045. At the time we put it out, it was 2050. But you can sort of see how we are proposing to get to those levels and reduce. So
are you all able to update all of the resources sooner than later? Because you have a lot of interest groups who are relying on data that you have public, and it doesn't seem like any of that is up to date. So, you know, I think that can just help.
Well, the plan we put out a couple of years ago is still, you know, pretty much reasonably accurate, but I mean, it does project into the future. So
right. So, you know, because you have a lot of people, you know, I mean, we're being not necessarily lobbied, but we are hearing from advocacy groups to push for a specific stance.
Yeah,
your information isn't updated because that's what people are relying on, and you're not able to be everywhere to hear from everyone. So I really appreciate the team for being here tonight. But that could, you know, I think that's a huge opportunity there, which may seem, you know, simple, but just having the up-to-date information made public could be helpful.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that suggestion and think and would agree that I don't think we are out there enough talking about where we are, what we do, how our emissions fit into the district's inventory. You know, emissions from gas are, you know, close to the emissions from waste. I mean, you know, a lot of it is targeted at gas, and we're trying to do a lot of things to reduce them. But sometimes I think the perspective is lost, and that, you know, action now is really important. And right now, if you use gas in your home, you'll have a smaller footprint, frankly, than if you use electricity. And, you know, because everybody's focused on 30 years from now, but we actually have to do things now because, you know, the emissions are accumulating. And yeah, so we're trying to do things we can do right now that, you know, make an immediate difference as well. And I think we have not told our story and have not shared enough information, and that we really need to do so. And so I really do appreciate you guys inviting us, and it is a really complex issue. And again, I don't think, you know, please don't let me, gas is not the only answer. There are a variety of fuels, and we need to use them the best way possible to get to where we need to go.
Thank you. Any closing statements, Ms. West or Ms. Johns or Ms. Hurt? Did you?
I just want to reiterate what Melissa said, and thank you all for allowing us to speak. We will be having some updates to our website and things like that after the holidays that will give some updated pieces of information, Chair David. So to your point, and to Melissa's point, we're slowly getting there to better tell our story. But we will have some updates to those things and advocacy efforts in the first quarter.
All right.
And I thank everybody for their time. I know it's late. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. No, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Everyone.
To the Washington Gas team. And with that said, is there a motion?
Could I ask a question, Chair David?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi.
Thank you, and I appreciate your thoughtful questions. Is the ANC contemplating passing a resolution on this important issue?
We had to get together first and discuss.
Okay.
This is, part of the plan is for us, like now we're getting this information, we're going to now get together and decide what we're going to do. Our next public meeting is January 16th. And then we have a couple other just executive meetings before then. So we'll talk in the background to see what we're going to do next. I don't know what we'll do next.
Okay.
It's hard because it seems regressive, and yet you have to account for the gas that exists. I think I think it's complicated.
One of the things that occurs to me is I think it's very important for us to get analysis from neutral parties. I very much appreciate the information we have got from Washington Gas representatives today, but I am mindful there is a conflict of interest here. It is in their corporate interest to proceed with this project. I'm very interested to hear what DOEE or other agencies whose primary task, whose primary mission is to meet our climate goals and what they think about this. So I'm going to see what I can find as well. And I think it's important that the ANC base its actions on truly objective sources.
All right, we'll reach out to DOE. I mean, we don't have to have them on a meeting, but we'll do that behind the scenes. Reach out to them. Thank you for that feedback. With that said, our next meeting is January 16, 2024, and we know for sure that Councilmember Robert White will be joining us at that time. We'll continue this conversation about housing, and I want to thank the community. I want to thank the commissioners for everything that you've done so far this year. It's been a fascinating year this year, and I appreciate everyone. And thank you and enjoy the holidays, everyone. With that said, is there a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn our meeting tonight.
There's
I
a second.
second it.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? And the motion passes. Good night, everyone. Bye.
Good night. Bye-bye.